Year 10, Mr. Davidson here to give you some support and help with this first week of a new topic on rivers. So you're all done with coasts now. Really well done for your focus over the last few weeks and getting your end of topic tests done. But we're now going to be moving on to something similar but altogether very different at the same time. Now, some of you might remember doing rivers in year 8, so a lot of this first couple of weeks will probably be fairly straightforward for you. For others, you might not remember it and it will be fairly new to you. But whichever category you fall into, this introductory work is fairly straightforward and will help you get to grips with the basics of this new topic. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going back to basics, and this week we're going to be learning about the basic characteristics of a river and how it changes as you move downstream. You're also going to be doing some mapping work, and you're going to be using Google Maps to see what this looks like in real life. Because unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do our field trip this half term for obvious reasons, whereas normally we would be going and getting our feet wet in a river in Kent. So let me give you some tips and talk you through this week's work and show you the different websites that you need to use. So here's your to-do list. The first thing you need to do is read pages 114, that should say 114, and 115 of the textbook. This textbook scan is in Teams in the class materials folder, and you'll need to use page 114 and also page 115 to define these 6 words. You will need to know these key terms, and these are the key terms that I would like to see in exam questions, in explanations, to show that you understand the underlying facts about rivers. Once you've done that, I need you to do a couple of diagrams for me. So the first step is easy. It's literally copying them out of the book. So for task 2, you need to copy diagram B, and we call this a long profile because it shows a long line of the entire river. So a long profile shows the entire river, and you'll need to read this and also this text section here to actually understand what that is. So task 2, copy diagram B and then answer these 3 questions to show that you've understood that. And I would like you to annotate this diagram. So copy this whole diagram as is and then annotate it with your answers to these 3 questions. Once you've done task 2, move on to task 3, unsurprisingly. And for that, you're going to copy diagram A, or these 3 diagrams in diagram A. Now, some of you might remember, although diagram B is a long profile, diagram A is a cross profile. So imagine like a cross section. It's a slice of the river. So you need to copy these diagrams and add the labels. You then need to read this section to answer these 3 questions. So just because that sounds a little bit confusing as I say it out loud, task 2 is to copy diagram B and answer the questions using this text. Task 3 is to copy diagram A and then annotate it with answers using this text. So far, so straightforward. You guys should fly through that, and if you have any questions, please email me or your teacher. I think the more interesting part of this week, though, is to, once you've done this theory and the underlying research, is to move on to some internet research to see what this looks like in real life. Now, I would like you, for this slightly longer task, to choose either the River Tees, which is in the north of England, or the River Severn, which is in the south of England. I don't mind which one you choose because the tasks are the same. It's entirely up to you. So let me just get Wikipedia up and we'll pop that over here. The first thing you need to do is to go to wikipedia.org and then select the English version so you're on the Wikipedia homepage. You then need to search for your chosen river. So I'm going to search for the River Tees, and it will bring you to that page. You don't need to read the entire page because it'll take you forever and you'll get lost in the details. I would like you to do a couple of things for me. I would like you to list how long the river is, where is its source, and where is its mouth. And you don't even need to read all of this text for that. You just need to look at the summary page on the right hand side of the page, or it will be in the middle if you're on a mobile. So you need to look at this page and answer these 3 questions. I would pay specific focus to the source and the mouth because you're going to need those for the next section. So once you've got your source and your mouth, you can actually move on to the mapping part of this. And just as an aside, if you would like to look through some of the underlying geography, please have a little read. You don't need to take any notes on it, but you'll probably find some interesting facts in there because rivers are pretty cool. So once you've got your river length, river source and river mouth, you need to go to Google Maps. So maps.google.co.uk, or you can follow this link. And you're going to need to know the locations of the source and mouth for your river. So I've already forgotten mine, so I looked at the River Tees. We need to find the source on Google Maps. So I'm going to go back to my Wikipedia page. Okay, source is in a place called Cross Fell, wherever that is. So let's have a look for Cross Fell. Apparently in the North Pennines area of natural beauty. Okay, this so far does not look very useful because it's just a green blob. If I wanted to, I could zoom out and I could see where in the UK it is. So I can see it's in this green, which is generally a forest or wilderness area in the North Pennines. But that's kind of superfluous right now. So I don't want to look at this map. I would like to look at the satellite version because these questions, so the observations you're going to take, need to be done using the satellite map. So if you're on a laptop or a tablet, click on satellite and it will turn it into a satellite photo. You've probably done this with your own house at some point. So here's what I need you to do. Once you've found the source, I would like you to write down some observations. So looking back at our instructions on the left hand side of the screen, you need to write down the following. You need to discuss the landscape in each area. Is it mountainous? Is it flat? Is it near the sea? Is it far away from the sea? Is there evidence of humans living there? And then you need to think about what you learned before. So what is the beginning and the end of a river like? And you need to discuss, does this satellite photo of the river match your expectations? So you will know from your research at the beginning of a river, generally up in the mountains, generally fairly hilly with a narrow river channel, does this photo, does this satellite photo match your expectations? So I'm just going to zoom out a tiny bit so I've got a better view. And I can see that the river is barely even visible here because it's the very beginning of the river. So I might want to take some observations that, okay, this landscape is fairly mountainous. I can see these hills. I can see that it's fairly barren because it's so high above the sea. Is there any evidence of human habitation? Well, no, not really. This is all completely barren, wild land. And does the river match my expectations? Well, I can barely see the river here. So the river channel must be extremely narrow, and I kind of guess that does match my expectations for the beginning of a river. So once I've done this, and if you want to be fancy, you could take a screenshot of this and add some annotated photos rather than just writing about it. After you've done the source, you need to do the exact same thing for the mouth of your river. So I'm going to go back to my Wikipedia page and I'm going to look for the mouth. Okay, so the mouth of the River Tees, I can see here, is in the North Sea, somewhere between Hartlepool and Redcar, which I presume are places. So I'm going to search for Hartlepool on my map. So I'm going to pull out the menu and I'm going to search for Hartlepool. Okay, well this already looks massively different from the last section. So I can see that there's much more evidence of people. This is a town, Middlesbrough. I can see the river flowing here into the sea. So I'm just going to scroll down a bit. So this is the River Tees, I can see, and this is the end of the River Tees. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write down any observations I have about this area. So task 1, is it mountainous? Absolutely not. Is it flat? Probably, because there are lots of buildings and there are lots of towns around here. And generally, we don't tend to build towns or cities in really hilly areas unless we absolutely have to. And also you'll know from your reading in the textbook that as you move towards the bottom of a river, the mouth of a river, the valley is much wider, the land is much flatter. So you can see that on this. And also for task 2, does the river match your expectations? Well, from your reading, you will know some key facts about what happens to a river as it reaches the sea, and you can maybe annotate your photo, or you can write your observations about, well, what does this section of the river look like? So once you've done that, you'll be finished with the week. All you need to do after that, is complete your weekly quiz, which will be published on Wednesday on Teams. So very quickly, let's run through the things you need to do this week. Task 1, reading through pages 114 and 115, you need to define these key terms. You need to copy a couple of diagrams and then annotate them with answers to these questions. And then you need to do some internet reading and research and mapping using Wikipedia and Google Maps on either the River Tees or the River Severn. After that, finish your quiz from Wednesday onwards, and then you're done. If you have any questions, please email me or your teacher, and I look forward to seeing your work at the end of the week. Cheers, guys.